There you go. Okay, so we've sort of the next couple of sessions reviewing things. Michi puts a number of good review exercises in the book, so um, we'll go over them. It's useful to kind of retrace the whole book and try to consolidate all the things and to get it firmly implanted in your memory. So when I try to do that sort of thing, I find it useful to make kind of a summary with the broad-based kind of notes as to what the whole idea was about, and all the book is about. And obviously I'm trying to put on one page what Michi covered in 200 and some odd pages in his book, so it's a little bit high level. So I thought I would just go over it. We'll start doing some review exercises after we go over it, but just to break down what he talked about his back checker strategy. He divided into what's called the initial stage, the advanced stage, and the completed stage, and then identify two other stages, which is the solo stage and the butterfly stage. So the initial stage is basically when you haven't moved your back checkers; they're still on the ace point. So this is like the first, second, third roll, and the basic strategy there is you're going to play very boldly. You're going to try to make the advanced anchor, or accomplish some other things. So you're going to hit loose. You're going to leave blots. You're going to do lots of things that you might not want to do otherwise. The tactics there are what I call the splitting rules, and I have the splitting rules here, which he covered mostly in his first book, the backgammon concepts. I'm sorry, what did he call his first book? The Proverbs, opening concepts. That's what it was. And my one criticism of that book was that he had all these proverbs that were related to splitting, and he kind of tossed them together and didn't consolidate them. So, and actually in this book, Backchecker Strategy, he does try to talk about specifically just about splitting and sort of brings them together a little more coherently. And so I bring this up. This is from the Opening Concepts book. And I consolidated them even further because there are a lot of rules and a lot of things, so it's easy to remember if you sometimes it's easier to remember, consolidate more things in once if you put it as to one big chunk. So I like to think of it as if you're thinking about splitting or not, consult these splitting rules, and then that will help you decide whether to split or not, whether you want to do that or not. So I'll have these available on my Google Drive, but again, these summarize the main points. One thing I will mention is that where is it here? Yeah, there's this proverb 10: split against a prime, but don't split against facing a blitzing structure, which Michi covered a little bit on a page or two. But to me, it didn't really help a lot with anything. It seemed easier as I've drawn these arrows to think about those sort of situations in other ways. The next book I want to cover, which is Mochi's and Mark Olson's Masterclass. Mochi spends a whole chapter, about 30 or 40 pages, just covering, basically split against the prime and don't split against the blitzing structure, and exactly what does that mean? What do you actually do with that? So we'll be taking that to the next level, and that's sort of an advanced portion of that. Michi's opening concept was very broad and really good, and it'll get you 90% of what you need to know, but certain instances aren't quite as clear. So and then the priming versus blitzing structure is helpful for that. So we'll go over that. And we'll talk about that a lot in the next book. Okay, so back to this, we have the initial stage. Texts are kind of splitting rules. You have the advanced stage, and that's the advanced stage is when you have an advanced anchor. And in that stage, you're going to play more safely, and it's not, at least less boldly, more safely, but not as safely as when we get to the complete stage. The complete stage is when you've escaped your back checkers to the midpoint. And in that case, you're trying not to get hit, and you're going to do lots of things that just to be safe. And that, because that's the primary role. Back to the advanced stage, there was a couple of ideas he presented. You're going to do some things even if they're ugly, like stacking in certain spots. Usually making a point is better than hitting if you've gotten to the advanced stage, because you don't want to get hit back and go back into the race. It talks about blue-black checkers. The F13, which was, he meant fight with 13, that didn't really seem to apply to back checker strategy. That was more like a containment issue. And the idea was that if your opponent has one checker that you've got to keep him back, then you want to bring up checkers, 13 checkers if you can, to contain that. But anyways, that was part of that. I got glued back checkers twice, so sorry about that. I'll take that out. Complete stage, play super safely. You're just trying to bring it home, pretty much. Talked about the solo stage. Solo stage is when you have a single checker back, and basically your strategy there is you're going to race, pretty much. That's about all you've got. And so you're going to try to pop out, and that's kind of a bold play. So, and really, you're going to play boldly with your back checkers, which popping out to try to escape, but you're going to play safe with your front checkers because you don't want to get hit and sent back, and now you're lost in the race. Now, I don't know that he talked about much, but if you have a single checker back and you're behind the race, then you kind of have to keep it back because that's your only defense. Its only defense is to hit. One interesting point he talked about was that the 23 point is the worst. I'm sorry, is the worst point to put it on. So if usually you have a single checker, it's on the ace point, and that's not a bad place. But the 22 point is better because you get 6s and 4s to pop out. 23 point is worse because you got a 5, and the only roll that escapes the midpoint safely is double 5s, which is not good. Then we spent a lot of time on the butterfly anchor, and we call this opportunistic bold. And a couple things on that. A butterfly anchor is, it's better than no anchor. It's better than the deep anchors, the ace and deuce, but it's not as good as the advanced anchor, which is the 4.5 point. So what you're gonna do with the 3-point anchor is you early on you want to make it because it has value, but you're going to want to leave it at some point. That's why it's called the butterfly, because it's a caterpillar at first, and then you want to fly away, basically. And there are a couple of rules that help you decide when you leave the anchor. I didn't think these were as concise as they could have been, but because it does get a little bit complicated. But just to go over them, you're more likely to leave if you have a safe landing point, or at least one of the checkers. You completed the fort. What that means is that your development on your side of the board is as good as it's going to get. And if you have a 6 prime, that's pretty much as good as you can ever get, or even a 5 prime, or even if you have a 4 prime or a 3 or 2 prime, and you've already had to put checkers behind your opponent's anchor. Once there's nothing left to do, you need to leave. If you're going to give a direct shot without breaking the anchor, then that's a sort of favors going out. Breaking your anchor first. Other considerations, which you didn't talk about, but are very much, but are important, or you want to be ahead in the race. If you're way behind in the race, you don't want to break your anchor, even if it's the butterfly anchor. And then if you don't have any offensive play, meaning on your home board or your side of the outfield, then maybe it's time to break that anchor. And you're going to hold the anchor if your board is developed yet. If you're gonna break it, if you don't have a good landing spot, you're gonna put 2 checkers in jeopardy by breaking the anchor, then that's a good reason not to. If your opponent is running, so he's just finished sort of his escape from his anchor, that's sort of tells you not to. So it's the combination of all these things that kind of factor in. Not always easy to figure that out, but these rules are kind of helpful if you're not sure what to do. Um, and it's, yes, if you kind of absorb them, some things will be clear, others not so much. Okay, so let's look at some examples for review, and we'll take look at a couple of these and see as far as we get, and go over some more from probably the next two sessions before we start the next book. So 3-1 to play. What do we do here, and what are the rules that matter? So obviously we're going to come in on the ace, and then the question is, what do we do with the 3? And whenever you have, and here it's, are you going to split or not split? And maybe that's probably the first thing is you have the opportunity to split. And coming in from the bar is when you land on the ace point, now you have a choice of splitting or not. That's something to remember, because well, in this case you have to come in on the ace, but you don't always have to come in on the ace. So any thoughts on this one? Split, going to 21 or not?
Yeah, I think we split.
Go to 21.
Yep, he only has 8 checkers right now, and if we don't split now, we'll have probably 10 checkers next roll, and then we definitely can't split. So
yeah, and that's a good rule. Attacking with 8 checkers is weak. Attacking with 10 is strong. In this case, black is attacking with 8, so that's pretty weak. Michi has a kind of related proverb. It's never wrong to you don't have to worry about being attacked when there's only 8 checkers in the zone. Not exactly true, but you're certainly less to worry about. So yeah, and the other thing is too is what else do you do with the 3? There's no good 3. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to go 8 to 5 or 6 to 3, and you could go 13 to 10, and that's not terrible, but but it's not great either. You leave another, you need another blotter on to get hit, and what you'd really like to do is to get that advanced anchor. So in this, often these splitting rules, they're not all crystal clear. So black has not split, so that doesn't tell you that you have to split. He doesn't have the advanced anchor. If he had advanced anchor, it'd be very clear that you have to split here. One thing that what Michi talks about, and again, we'll go into more depth, is he calls this the priming structure, because he's got three in a row, and if you're working against a prime, you need to split. And if you're working against a blitzing structure, you don't need to split. We'll go into that, how to identify those in Mochi's book. Okay, so here we split. Okay, so 5-1 to play. Split or no split? And obviously the 5 is going to go, it's going to be, well, maybe not. We could come out to the 6 point, but usually when you have a 5 and you've got a stack midpoint, you're going to come out 13 to 8. So let's just take that's probably the best thing to do with that. And then do we split 24-23 or 6 to 5? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. And Charlie, why?
Well, it'll give you more chances to make another point in your board.
Yep. But in terms of splitting rules, you have a chance to split or not to split.
There's 10 checkers in the.
Yeah, that's right. 10 checkers in the zone is a song, and that's strong, and that's a sign not to split, because black can launch an attack from there with all the ammunition that he has. So yeah, and that's right, and that's the reason that you go down. In fact, actually, this splitting is a blunder here. It's better to come out, but the right play is to not split at all. Again, black has so that tells you that leans against it, but you've got 10 in the zone. So if you got other moves, let's play those. Okay, 3-2.
Why going into 18 point? Why is it such a minor? It's not a very big error, interestingly.
This one. Well,
It's not a big error for some reason.
0.066. I mean, well, that's a fairly large error for early on.
Okay.
And the reason is that it's not a blunder like this would be a blunder. Now I find just because now black can hit safely or more safely with less risk of being hit back. And now black by hitting is going to probably coming down with 6 is going to have 11 checkers in the zone. And it could end up very badly for white. On the other hand, unless black makes the point, there are a lot of return shots here, so that's sort of offsetting. But anyway, but yeah, 0.066 is not, it's not a blunder, but that's not something you want to make early on in the early rolls. You should be able to, keep any errors at really minor levels for the most part here. Okay. Okay. So what's the key thing here that we see that's going to should be the first thing you see, and that tells you what to do? Charlie, you're gonna talk.
The opponent's advanced anchor.
Yeah, opponent has advanced anchor. Big sign to split. So we're going to split. And so how do we split? Use with the 2 to 3 or both?
I think split with the 2 and 6 to 3 probably.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I mean, a number of things you could do. One thing to look at is that black has a point here on the 15. If you come out to the 3 point, which is the 21 point, you're now putting black under, or you're putting your checker under threat from 3 points. This his 6, his 8, and 10. And there are 9 rolls that are going to point on you. So what you really don't want to do here is get pointed on if you can help it. Now the 11 point is a better spot because it's not in direct line of black sight, as opposed to 13 to 10, which would be in direct line. And it turns out the right answer then is because it's better to come out with the 2 to avoid this spot. It's better to not come down and give a direct shot, because if you're going to go up 2, you've got to come down 3. Better to just play past the anchor. Normally, I don't like playing past the anchor because it sort of puts a checker out of play for a while. However, we've got 3 spares on the 6 point. They're not really useful at the moment in the game. 2 of them might be if you got double ones. Certainly 1 would be if you bring another checker down, you can make the 5 point. But right now, that 5th checker there it's not really in the game anyway. Okay.
Gary?
Yeah.
What is it about? I mean, I understand if your opponent has a lot of checkers in the zone, you don't want to split because you can get hit. What is it about an opponent's advanced anchor that makes splitting so imperative?
Because you're leaving. Okay, advanced anchor usually means that the development of the game has gone far enough that your opponent can prime you or has a good chance of priming you, basically. it's you don't want to get stuck with your checkers on the ace point, because that you can't attack in the outfield, and your opponent, you're vulnerable to both an attack if you do have to move or forced to move one out, and you're vulnerable to the prime. So I think it's more of a like timing issue, that if your opponent has done this, then you're behind in the development. And it's very bad to have your back two checkers glued to the ace point. If they're back there, it's hard to extract them. And the more time that you give the opponent to fill in to make some type of a prime, the more difficult it's going to be for you to get out of there. And also just over the course of the game, like black is sitting here, double fours, double fives give him a real real chance to do that. Whereas double fives are worthless for your back checkers on our side. Double sixes might be helpful, but they don't put you into any clear light. You come to the bar with them. So all those combinations of reasons are why. Okay. This is an interesting one. Yeah, and so this is one that I'm not sure the opening concept book covers that well. A little bit, but so what do we think about here?
Well, you're behind in the race, so you want to hit.
We are behind in the race, yeah.
11-7.
Yeah, that would tell you to hit. What else is there to see?
I think probably just make the 5 point.
Yeah, well, yeah, the 5 point, and then why would you want to do that?
Right. I mean, you're behind on the race, so we don't want to touch the back checkers. If we do hit on the bar point, we don't really have a productive 3, right? So I think the long-term improvement of making the 5 point is probably worth the passing up the hit for now, just because we still have a long way to go to get our back checkers up.
Yeah. So all that kind of plays more. This is a little more complicated, may not be, and develop something, but there are other reasons to look at, and the right play is actually to make the 5 point. So a couple of things. One, point priority, 5 point, Michi didn't say it, but I've had other people say, if you're not going to make the 5 point, you better be able to do 2 or 3 other good things. And here you really can't. The only good thing you can do is hit, put him back, and that's a good thing. But there's no 3. There's no good 3 if you hit with the 4. You could stack on the 6 point, and that's really not good. Or bring one down. That's probably better. No, it's not better. It's close to, well, it's about the same. But you stripped your midpoint, and now you've got. Actually, no. This isn't hitting. This is hitting with 310. Yeah, so this is worse because you left 2 blots and you stripped your midpoint. What Michi would argue from this perspective, his book, is that okay, you're still in the initial stage, so you can play more boldly. More boldly is okay, you leave the blot and you make the long-term asset, I guess, of the 5 point. That's what he argues in the books. Again, this is a little bit tricky, a little bit more advanced. It's something that you probably on the opening concepts, there's so many conflicting things going on here that it's not quite clear which is the most important. But from the back checker strategy point of view, is you're still in initial play stage. Play boldly, make a good point over the long term of the game. That should pay off more than the other options. This is well, let me leave it at that. Okay, so same role, but what's different? And how does that imply versus the back checker strategy book?
You have an advanced anchor, you want to play more conservatively.
That's right. This is stage two. And stage two means we've got the advanced anchor. We're going to play safer, more safe. Yes. So now the calculus changes. Previously, we made the 5 point, leaving that blot there. Now, what do you think?
Mhm.
Well, we're going to play safe. This still is not a bad play, but now this is better. We're playing safer. We've got the advanced anchor. We don't want another checker to go back. We don't want to go back, farther in the race. The race is basically even after this roll. So advanced anchor, play safe. Don't get that back checker back, or don't get another checker back. Six.
Awesome.
All right, this is a tricky one too. So what do we have here? What are we looking at, and what does that tell us to do?
Move your advanced back checker, 2014.
Okay. Yeah, that's an option. I'd be tempted to do that just based on what, Charlie?
Isn't that what they what they said, to advance your back checker, the one that's farther forward, to move it? Yeah, that
20 point. No, I don't know who said that.
I thought it was on your sheet.
Oh,
Maybe not.
here, this sheet,
One.
the other one. Well, I don't think so. I think maybe you're thinking of something else.
It says play. Oh, bold
ahead.
with black checkers. Okay.
Play boldly if you're in the initial stage. Yeah. 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 So yeah, this is a tricky one because it's um, it's odd, but the idea here is that your opponent has the advanced anchor. And so if your opponent has the advanced anchor, you want the advanced anchor. And if you move any of these checkers, either of the back checkers, you're less likely to get it, which is the idea here. And so this is, kind of odd. I would, that's the second best move. That's probably the move that I would have made before, looking at this example. Simply because I would say, well, I'm up in the race. I might as well race. I can't make the advanced anchor, and then bringing this one down. Well, let me put it this way: black is in the advanced stage. Black has the advanced anchor. So what do you do if you're the blast? If you have in the advanced stage, well, you black should play safely. If you throw a checker down here, that's kind of like bait for him to break his anchor, and that's what you're trying to do here is throw out the bait, see if he'll take it, break the anchor, and then you've got the 3 point board with the idea here. Yeah, so keep in mind, we often think of initial stage, advanced stage, completed stage as the stage that we are, that we're in. and that tells us what to do, but it also tells your opponent what to do. And to the extent that you sort of tempt him to break the strategy, that's that can be helpful. And those are a little bit tricky. You sort of have to see them enough to get a feel for when they are when they're appropriate or not. And so this is one of those cases where yeah, you throw a checker into the outfield, and yeah, you might get hit, and that's not good. But in order to get hit, black has to break the anchor. Once having broken the anchor, black now is open to attack. And you have the better board. The ace point, you probably got double fives early. You made the ace point. You're kind of limited to racing or attacking here. So holding games not so good, at least not until you get another point in the outfield. And then obviously you can't prime. You already got 2 points behind his anchor, and you can't prime with an ace point game pretty much once you've made the ace point. So all those things. Again, these are tricky, but this is sort of, we're going past a little bit past the beginner level. These are sort of like higher level ideas, and not obvious, but it's the kind of things that you need to think about. All right. Well, these went quick. So actually, the last one. Oh, the other idea too. Don't unstacking. You mentioned that. Helps. You got 5 here, checkers not really doing anything. You might as well bring one back into the game. All right, last one for today. This is also a tricky one. And again, one not well covered by opening concepts, but what's the play and what's the rationale for it?
Well, I'd say you can't make the 7 point, because the last thing you want to do is get hit on the 14 point and have another checker in the back.
Mhm.
And you don't, for the same reason, you don't want to hit on this 5 point. It's just too much risk. So I guess you play 14-8, 24-23. Yeah, the only 8 checkers in the zone, so that dictates splitting also.
Yeah, very, very good. That's exactly right. 4 inner board of 4, not good for you. You don't want to get hit. That could be a disaster. If you played long enough, you can dance. You can dance a long time on 4-point board. Your opponents will come right in, but you can dance a long time. So yeah, don't leave the block. Just from a splitting perspective, your opponent has only 8 checkers in the zone. Yeah, so you don't really need to worry about it. If he's going to attack, it's not going to be right away. He's got to bring more checkers in the zone to launch a credible attack. So that's one thing. Prime, there's sort of a lesser. Again, this will be covered more in Mochi's book, but this is a priming structure. 4 in a row. That's a 4 prime already. Against a prime, you want to split. So splitting to the deuce point. Now 6-5 gets you a good anchor. That's a good roll. Or any 1 will now give you the deuce point anchor, which is a lot better than the ace point. Certainly until black has made either the bar or the 7th. So all those point to making the to splitting here. Also, you look at the options. Everything else is a blunder. Every other play, black should double right away because you've given him a shot. And this one, you got a 5 coming in, or anything with anything but 6-4. And so there are a lot of numbers that hit loose there. And once you get hit, this with black's 4-point board, it gets pretty ugly. You know, even making the bar point, which is the second best point, you know, you leave the direct 2. You've also got a 9 here. Again, getting hit is not good. You stripped your 7 and 8, so you're likely to leave shot next time. All those point to splitting here, and you know, playing safely down. Just, you know, coming out too, you give the direct 6, a lot of 6s that hit. Again, you don't want to get hit, not here. Okay, so that's it.
Eric?
That's, yeah.
Excuse me. What is the percentage of win-loss for each black and white, and what about doubles?
Okay, so, you know, the correct play, you got 33% wins for white, 66 for black, and 26, almost 27% gammons for black in this case. So that, you know, that's a pretty high gammon chance, even though, you know, 2/3, 1/3 doesn't sound so great in terms of so bad in terms of wins, but there are a lot of gammons in those wins. These others, higher gammons, 30%, 29% gammons, 31 wins, or 68 for black versus 67, say. So again, just more gammons, more wins. This play, making the bar, is even worse. 28% gammons, 70% wins for black. So, you know, again, the farther down you go, the worse it is for white.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, so that is it for the lesson today. Let me turn the recording off.